Hello, Guy. Welcome back to TFD. It's looked like Colson Cunningham exit fever lost to Sun with injuries. Let's go. Well, the setbacks just keep piling up for the Indiana Fever. They opened the night with their superstar Caitlin Clark on the floor, but closed it without either of their backup guards. Sydney Colson exited in the first half after a tough fall, and Sophie Cunningham followed in the second with an apparent injury. Head coach Stephanie White didn't have any updates to offer in her post-game remarks, leaving more questions than answers for a team already stretched thin.
It's better to happen now than later on in the year because we're still so early and we can still figure it out and adjust to it, because losing bodies like that at the end of the year is really hard to adjust, especially when you're in a rhythm. But good thing we're not in a rhythm right now, so still figuring it out. So it's just nice. It's just going back to just keep starting over every day. So that's kind of where we are. But I don't think it's deflated.
It punched us in the gut for a little while. But look, the reality is, this stuff happens. We've seen it time and time again in our league, and having to find a way. We can't take 2.5 quarters to then figure it out from a toughness standpoint, from an energy standpoint. I was proud of our fight in the fourth quarter. After Sophie goes down, I was proud of our fight. But our consistency throughout the course of the game has to be better.
Yeah, adversity just keeps stacking up for the Indiana Fever, and we're only a few weeks into the season. It feels like training camp just wrapped up, and already this team is having to make major adjustments on the fly. Still, despite everything, they were right there at the end, had a chance to steal the win in the final 5 seconds. But costly mistakes haunted them. 15 turnovers ended up turning into 30 points for the Connecticut Sun, who escaped with an 85-83 win Friday night at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. It was also the first home game without Caitlin Clark in uniform. Sure, she missed the Baltimore matchup against the Mystics, but this marks the start of Week 1 without her as she recovers from a quad strain. She's expected to be re-evaluated after June 7th, but the timeline could stretch longer depending on her progress. Still, the fans showed up. 16,262 strong inside the fieldhouse. While there were some empty seats and suites, the energy was still there for this one, especially with a familiar face in the building. Head coach Stephanie White and Aaliyah Boston both had history with the Sun, adding a bit of extra emotion to the night. Right now, this Fever squad is in a tough spot. Every time they start to find rhythm or build some identity, another setback throws things off course. They actually led by 2 after the first quarter, but then came the injury to Sydney Colson. JC Sheldon fell into her leg, and whether it was the knee or some kind of leg whip, it didn't look good. Colson needed help off the floor and never returned. Things only got tougher in the second half when Marina Mabry caught fire. She scored 15 of her 26 points in the third quarter, and suddenly Connecticut was in control, up by as many as 15 early in the fourth. But the Fever weren't done. They answered with a furious rally, 16 straight points, part of a 19-2 run that put them back in front. It all started on the defensive end, 9 straight stops, and then the shots started to fall. After opening just 2 of 11 from beyond the arc, they drilled 5 in a row. Lexi Hull sparked it, and then Aaliyah Boston hit back-to-back threes, one of them a bank shot, fresh off her season-best 21-point outing against the Mystics. The fight is there. The heart is there. But for the Fever, staying healthy and finding consistency might be the biggest challenge of all.
It's hard when you keep losing people. You try to piece it together, and we came in with a one-game plan, then you lose your other point guard, so you got to pivot on the fly. And we're a new team at that, so we got all these new pieces. So we were still trying to figure out when we had CC and Sid. Then you lose those 2 pieces, and you kind of gotta you lose CC, we regroup. Then you lose Sid, then you have to regroup. So just trying to stay together and stay positive, and get through the storm right now.
Hesitant on coming to the ball, moving without the ball. Am I passing it or am I not passing it? Instead of really letting it flow. Part of that's still getting to know one another. I think part of that is understanding what to get, which actions we're trying to get in the system. We got to simplify in a big way. And then we got to continue to build and grow. Look, there's no question, we're hitting adversity right now.
The Fever were up 78-76 late in the fourth, but then came back-to-back daggers from beyond the arc by the Sun, who were red-hot all night, finishing 10 of 20 from deep. That perimeter shooting combined with capitalizing on Indiana's turnovers, really told the story. Those were the two key factors: the Suns' efficiency from long range and their ability to convert mistakes into points. Even with all that, the Fever still had a shot. Down by 2 with 5.8 seconds to go, they had the final possession, but just couldn't get a clean look, falling short in a tough 2-point loss.
We found another gear. As much as the Sydney injury was probably a gut punch for us, the Sophie one gave us a little bit of juice. And so we found another gear. I thought our activity level on the defensive end was really good. We stopped being hesitant. We started taking our open shots. We were aggressive to the rim. As far as the last play, it wasn't clean. We didn't get it in cleanly. I thought we were gonna, the way it was developing looked like we were gonna have a good look, but it just wasn't clean.
Earlier this week, several Fever players mentioned how losing Caitlin Clark felt like hitting the reset button. Now, with 2 more injuries added to the list, it feels like they're being forced to start over all over again. It's been a constant battle, trying to establish rhythm while navigating injuries, a new system, and an entirely new coaching staff. None of it makes things easier, but this is where trust in the coaching staff becomes critical. They've got to keep the messaging positive, lean into player development, and continue rewarding those who step up in these tough moments. And let's be real, it's going to take time. The Fever sit at 2-4 on the season. They've dropped 3 straight and 4 of their last 5. No one saw this kind of injury storm coming, especially not with Caitlin Clark. When your team is built around a centerpiece like her, and that piece suddenly goes missing, it's like part of the foundation collapses. The whole structure feels unsteady. The silver lining? It's still early. There's time to adapt. Players are still learning their roles, adjusting to schemes, and building chemistry. But with Clark expected to be out at least another month, and now with both Colson and Cunningham needing assistance off the court, the front office is likely going to have to seriously explore signing a hardship player just to stay afloat in the weeks ahead.
I think that's pretty hard, especially just me wanting to be that post presence, being able to have to sit or have to kind of back off a little bit just because of how the fouls are being called. I love my money, so I'm gonna end the answer there.
Kelsey Mitchell led the way with 13 points, while Dewana Bonner also chipped in 13. Lexi Hull added 12 from the starting lineup. Now, the Fever will have Saturday off to rest and recover before getting back to work with 2 practice sessions leading up to Tuesday's matchup, once again at the Fieldhouse, where they'll face the Washington Mystics.